Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to Taking Stock. I'm coming to you this week from the comfort and safety of my living room. As you're all aware, with the threat of COVID-19, we've all been advised to work from home if possible. So today, and until this threat passes, I'll be conducting all interviews via Zoom. Business must continue, work must continue, and I'll be here to keep you informed and updated with the latest business news and how it will affect you and your money.
First up, the private sector organization of Jamaica and the Bankers Association have recommended a list of measures to their members on how to handle the current crisis with both the public and their employees. We'll discuss. Then later we hear from two businesses that Jamaicans are turning to in droves in these trying times. Chairman of Fontana Pharmacy, Kevin O'Brien Chang, and CEO of EduFocal, Gordon Swaby, join us. And of course, the analysts weigh in on the latest stock market developments. What should you expect from the market over the next couple of months? And should the TransJamaican Highway listing be delayed? What are the pros and cons? But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart. Lockdown. The government has closed all air and sea ports to incoming passengers for at least 14 days in an effort to contain the spread of COVID-19. Further restrictions have also been placed on public gatherings, non-essential work, and a second community quarantine was ordered for Corn Peace Settlement in Clarendon following the country's first COVID-19 related death in the area. Still with COVID-19 news, the impact of the virus has led to a fallout in tourism, causing large and small hotel chains like Rio, Decameron, Couples, and Sandals to temporarily close doors and lay off thousands of staff. Now, to cushion the impact of COVID-19, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has announced further fiscal measures. The list includes a waiver on special consumption tax on 100,000 litres of alcohol to make hand sanitizers, a 90-day waiver on customs duty to import masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, and liquid hand soaps, and allowing BPOs to let workers use specialized equipment at home. The government will also be giving cash to some workers and businesses impacted by COVID-19. And a number of banks are offering deferred payments on credit cards and loans, inline credit, among other interventions. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has also announced a stimulus package through the National Housing Trust, offering social protection to mortgagors and contributors impacted. These include a 3-month moratorium on all loan payments for mortgagors laid off as a result of COVID-19. And speaking of the budget, the Prime Minister also announced a 1% reduction in interest rates on all new NHT loans and a 0.5% reduction on existing loans come April 1. The Development Bank of Jamaica is also cutting its interest rates by 0.75% for the next 2 months and is extending a moratorium on loans for its BPO clients up to 2 months on both principal and interest. But you have to ask for it. Meanwhile, in his contribution to the budget debate, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips noted that the government's budget has been nullified by COVID-19. He argued that if his party, the PNP, had formed the government, he would have engaged all stakeholders to be better prepared for the pandemic. In other news, controversy over the rooms on the Beachland deal has caused Moon Palace to scrap its multi-billion-dollar investment in Ocho Rios. Carousel's bosses were arrested and charged with conspiracy to use the spectrum without a license and use of the spectrum without a license. And over in Guyana, a high court judge has granted an injunction against the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, preventing it from carrying out a national recount of votes from the disputed March 2 regional and general elections. The injunction was granted to a private citizen and is to remain in effect until a determination is made by the High Court. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart. This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agent. Insurance made easy.
And before we jump into our discussion, first let me thank our sponsor, Water. Remember to stay hydrated in these trying times. Well, the government has issued a directive that any work that can be done at home should be done at home as a means of social distancing to slow the spread of the deadly COVID-19. Cities, towns, and communities across the island have become virtual ghost towns, affecting businesses that depend on walk-in customers. And the entire tourism industry has ground to a halt. Several workers have already been laid off. The economic impact is already being keenly felt among those losing income. Well, amid the uncertainty, the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, and the Jamaica Bankers Association, JBA, have issued recommendations to their members on how to handle the situation. I'm joined now by PSOJ President Keith Duncan, Director of Research at Capri, Dr. Diana Thorburn, and CEO of NCB Jamaica Septimus Blake, who's also an executive member of the JBA. Welcome to this new age of doing business.
Thank you for
having me.
Thank you, Kalida.
Look at us, we're all participating via Zoom this afternoon. It's the first time I'm doing a Zoom interview, but we all have to learn how to use the technology because things have changed, huh?
Agreed.
Well,
Yeah.
let's start with you, Bob.
Yes.
What are the recommendations for banks? First of all, congratulations both to Bob and Keith. Well, not congratulations, I should say thank you for that decision to forego the asset tax reduction and contribute that towards the contingency fund for COVID. So thanks for that. That decision by the bankers. That's very timely.
And the security dealers and the insurance association in Jamaica.
Okay. Yeah, so all of them would have been impacted. Very timely, and we definitely thank you for that. So Bob, what are the recommendations to banks at this time?
So I'd answer that by saying, from a banking perspective, we recognize our role as a key enabler in influencing the outcome. As it stands right now, the nation is going through significant challenges, and we want to underscore our commitment to work with the government, with the regulators, and with our customers and partners to find the best path through what has started out as a humanitarian crisis, but has really evolved into, or will evolve into, really severe
economic crisis.
Economic crisis. So we stand ready to do whatever it takes to ensure that we find the best path through this crisis.
Okay, and there are some measures that have already been taken by banks, including NCB. Tell me about those.
So I'd say we have taken some steps around three themes, and if you look across all the banks, they pretty much fall into one of those buckets. The first theme is that we would have looked to make some changes to credit terms, namely extending principal or payment moratoriums, looking at restructuring facilities, especially on the commercial and the small business sectors. On the consumer side, we have looked to give payment holidays, etc. So that's the first theme. That is it.
Well, how long? Let me bring Keith in. How long can these types of measures reasonably continue?
Well, I think we are all trying to work through, like almost a time frame. And we heard the Prime Minister look at we're looking at the curve and looking at how long will the impact the economy, the duration of the impact. And that's, all we can do is look at what has occurred across the world. And for countries who have managed to reduce the impact up front by taking significant measures up front so that they could reduce the severity of the spike in the spread, such that you can reduce the impact on the economy. this is where we need to say, is this going to take us 3 months before we start seeing resumption of normal business activities? Because business activities will be significantly reduced in several sectors. So therefore, I'm seeing that this thing could the economic fallout. Within tourism, can we get back tourism up and running within 3 months? I'm not so sure. It depends on how this thing rolls out across the globe.
Diana, the PSOJ paper done along with Capri, tell me about, are there any overlaps in what is being recommended to various industries? Because I see you've covered a wide range of industries there in that paper.
Yeah, so the basic thing is how to best minimize the losses to the business in whatever sector, at the same time as each entity doing their part to, as they say, flatten the curve, recognizing that there's going to be a trade-off between taking measures to mitigate the spread of the disease, usually to the flow of business, whatever type of business it is, and to the economy's sooner recovery that's going to be a benefit to everyone. So it was really looking at the particulars of each sector to say, what is the best way for them to try and balance those two objectives? So that's kind of the underlying principle, but for every sector it's different. And not only is it different in the theoretical sense, but also in how that sector applies to Jamaica. So construction, for example, is one that we want to treat with very, very carefully, because it's a huge employer, and it's an employer of people who are usually at some of the lowest ends of the lowest ranks of the wage scale. So cutting them off is going to be affecting a lot of people. And that can lead to, a ripple effect in so many other ways, not only economic consequences. So you ask, well, what can we do about a construction site to mitigate the spread of the virus and flatten the curve? Mm-hmm. And that requires measures specific to that, measures specific to Jamaica, but also taking into consideration best practice from elsewhere. So there's a basic underlying principle of what can we each do to slow the curve and survive in the long run or the medium term as a business and as a country.
One of the underlying things there is this recommendation for social distancing. And of course, that plays out differently depending on the industry that you're in. Some people, like us, we can work from home. I can do this interview from home. It's not the quality that I would like, but you make it work. But there are other industries that require face-to-face interaction. Bob, tell me about how it works in the banking industry. How does this recommendation for social distancing play out on the ground?
Right. So here's how we have thought about it. One, the immediate action for us has been around employee safety, that is education and personal hygiene. So as a result of that, because banking is an essential service, one of the things that we would have done pretty early is to ensure that we rolled across all of our locations hand sanitizers, and we enforced, or we encouraged, I should say, social distancing. You will have noticed that we are following the guidelines set out by the Ministry of Health in terms of allowing 20 customers in the branch at any point in time. At this point in time, the best path to an optimistic outcome is to contain the spread of new infections. The second thing we have done is taken a look at the actions that we have taken to ensure that they are sustainable across multiple scenarios, maybe a couple of months as well. And so we have looked at the work which is customer facing, because again, banking is an essential service. So we have looked at the work which needs to be customer facing and determine what work can be done remotely. And we have done that, and we continue to calibrate that. We would have stepped up our education around leverage the digital services that we have in the event that the branches become inaccessible for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So we have been ensuring that that happens. And then the other component that we're doing is to ensure that we provide support, that is credit for cash. So we ensure that persons have access to their cash.
Is the future of work changing? I think some of these changes that we're seeing, how businesses relate to customers and employees, do you think some of these will be permanent, will last post-COVID-19?
Well, I think it's really going to be interesting because I suspect some sectors will see that they're actually doing better with people working from home. For example, their light bills may be lower or what have you. Maybe people are more productive, and others may see the opposite. I just think it depends a lot on the extent to which employees who are able to work at home have children at home. I know that for me has been a productivity killer. That's a whole other conversation. But I think it's going to be an interesting experiment because this is truly going to be providing us with controls and conditions that we could never have created in a lab. And I think a lot of people are going in every sector, across every type of enterprise, profit, non-profit, are going to be looking at what has happened in this period to see how can we do this better as we go forward.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Because I believe we're going to see a fairly sharp acceleration in the use of digital channels across all sectors. So whether it's retail, financial services, healthcare, we expect that will be impacted positively as well. And I think once we get a positive digital experience, it is unlikely that customers are going to revert to, prior channels.
What we need to look on is on the other side that there are opportunities here also. There are opportunities in how we configure ourselves in the business process outsourcing segment, because there will be dislocation, and Jamaica is doing quite well in that area. If we are able to figure out how we observe social distancing protocols, we could ramp up opportunities in this area and grow this area and actually absorb people from workers from tourism in the short term into this area, train them up, and actually grow the BPO space. You know what I mean? There's opportunity in manufacturing because we can replace imports with local domestic manufacturing. So there is an opportunity for Jamaica to really come out of this with a stronger economy as we learn to depend on our own internal resources.
I hope so. Thanks for joining me, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me. Okay, bye.
Bye. Well, I'm going to look now to two businesses that thousands of Jamaicans are turning to in this crisis. First, we have Fontana Pharmacy, which has seen customers flock to its locations. They're now offering delivery service and WhatsApp ordering. Fontana Chairman Kevin O'Brien Chang is with me. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, how are you, Kalila?
Not bad. I've introduced you to Zoom. I feel proud.
Yeah, you're moving us old guys into the new generation. Okay.
Yeah, so tell me, there have been long lines at Fontana and other retail outlets. How have you all been managing it?
Well, our staff has gone above and beyond, and we're really proud of them that they have stepped up to the plate. Our first priority, of course, is keeping our customers and our staff safe. I mean, whatever business is taking place, humanity comes first. So I want to make sure we do everything to prevent them possibly catching the coronavirus. So, we've been sanitizing hands, people coming in. We've been sanitizing all surfaces. There's sanitizer at all cashiers. So we're taking 100% precautions, following all government regulations to make sure that our staff and our customers are as safe as possible. That's the number one priority. Human lives come before.
The service that you all provide and the products that you sell, pharmaceuticals in particular, are critical at a time like this, especially as we anticipate more people getting sick and are going to be needing medication. How are you managing inventory?
Well, that's the thing. We've been in touch with all suppliers, making sure that as much as can be possible, we have enough supplies for the customers. As you see, there's going to be a big rush. They want to keep safe. They want to keep clean, and they want to, if they have any medical problems, they want to look after them immediately. Because we know coronavirus, the great risk is for people over 50 who have underlying problems, and especially men. The death rate for men apparently today is twice the death rate for women. So people with underlying problems want to get all their medication. So there's a big rush now, but we expect, as everybody else does, there's going to be a big drop-off soon. I mean, the entire tourism industry shut down, the entire entertainment industry shut down, sports is all shut down. So a lot of people are not going to have any salaries for a while. And we are going to do our part, what we can. Right now, it is quite packed. People getting their medical supplies, getting their necessities, getting their things to keep clean. But inevitably, there will be a big fall off. Everybody in business all over the world is going to experience a fall off. People have to stay home. People, the tourism industry is all shut down to zero across the world. The entertainment industry has gone to zero. The sporting industry has gone to zero. And going to be a lot of knock-on effects. So it's going to be a fall off. And as a business, our main priority is to protect our staff. We look out for people first. So we are going to try to ensure any job loss is minimal. Yeah, we're going to have to cut back hours. Maybe hopefully no more than 3 months, we're hoping. But it's better for us to take a bit of short-term pain than to make our staff suffer in the long run. So that is our main goal as of now.
So you're maintaining all staff, at least for now?
Yeah, we're going to do as much as we can to maintain on our staff. Keep any job losses to a minimum for the next 3 months. And if it goes on longer than that, well, all bets are off. Nobody can know. And we are hardly the only business in this situation. And Jamaica is hardly the only country in this situation. The entire world, all business people are saying, what do we do? Look at the airlines. They're shut down to zero. Look at the cruise ship industry. They're shut down to zero. The hotel industry shut down to zero. A lot of people are saying, what do we do? And every day information changes. New York today, look at it. You saw military trucks rolling into town, soldiers coming in. The martial law is about to be declared.
California is now on complete lockdown too.
So imagine New York City under martial law. That is something, New York and London are the centers of the world, the capitals of the world. And they see one of the world capitals under martial law, the bastion of democracy. Wow, that's where the United Nations is. That is unprecedented. So, as I said, Fontana, all we can try to do is to preserve as much staff as possible, serve our customers as well as possible. One thing we have a online, FontanaPharmacy.com online buying, free shipping.
Well, I was just about to ask you about that, Kevin, because in many ways, this crisis has forced us all to innovate, has forced businesses to innovate, to find different ways to do business, different ways to offer services. So in some respects, Fontana was prepared a little bit because you at least have already offered WhatsApp prescriptions and stuff like that. But I see that you have some additional measures that you have undertaken. Tell me about those.
Well, we always have these, the online shopping was always there, but I guess it's become more prominent now. Nobody wants to go out. And so the online shopping, we don't sell drugs on it for technical reasons, credit card people. So we can get any non-drug items on FontanaPharmacy.com. For drugs, you can WhatsApp prescriptions in, and we give free delivery. And both the online services and the FontanaPharmacy.com and the WhatsApp, it's free delivery over 50 US. And on WhatsApp, you can get prescription drugs, OTC drugs, or any other items you may want. So
the delivery is a new service, or you had offered that before?
So you can shop with zero physical risk.
Yeah. No, the delivery is a new service, or you had offered that before?
We've always had it in Kingston. But people pay more attention now because nobody wants to go out. At Fontana, often people want to come there because they enjoy the ambience. But nobody wants to come out now. So it's become more prominent in people's minds. And we, as I say, many can't come out and they're still going to need stuff. So we are offering these services.
Mm-hmm. So that means you're going to have to hire new people to do the deliveries.
Exactly. We may have to not hire new people, but shunt some of the other people off. Because we have to close hours. You will have not close hours, but shorten hours, as many people are doing. If less physical traffic is there, so we can shunt some of the people from the regular thing into the online aspect. Hopefully, one of the ways that we will preserve jobs. You know, as I say, the main priority, we are a company, look out for our staff all the time. We consider ourselves a family, and we want to minimize any hardships to our Fontana staff and look after customers as well.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem at all. Keep up the great work, ma'am.
Now, with schools closed and parents forced to take on the role of educator at home, Gordon Swaby is EduFocal. He's seen a surge in business. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, Khalila. How are you?
Not bad. So tell me, first of all, what is EduFocal? What do you guys do?
So we started out as a test prep service. So we provide questions and answers covering the grades 4 to 6 curriculum, primary school level curriculum. So our content, specifically our questions, are aligned with the NSC, also known as the National Standards Curriculum. So kids pay to access the service. It's 2,500 Jamaican dollars per month. And they get access to over 20,000 questions. They get access to math tutorial videos. They get access to reading content, what we call our study guide. And we make it fun. So we use this concept called gamification to make it fun for the students. So whenever they get a question right on the platform, they earn points, and those points allow them to level up. And they're competing against each other on a leaderboard. And every year for the last 8 years, we've given our top student on the EduFocal platform $50,000 cash. So we keep a nice swanky event at the Jamaica Pegasus, and we give them $50,000 in cash for performing well on the platform. And that's what we do in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. So how have you had to change the way you do things as a result of this crisis?
So one of the big changes was making our platform free. So the Ministry of Education reached out to us prior to closing schools, and they asked us if we could act as one of the resource partners. Now, the ministry has always been a partner of ours in terms of we've been endorsed by them for a very long time, and we're in over 100 schools. We're in about 150 schools. But this was the first time that they've made such a request, and just based on what was happening, we thought that, all right, we're going to go ahead with it, and we made a decision as a team. And I mean, within 2 to 3 days, we moved from maybe on averaging 500 to 600 registrations a month to now well over 25,000. So in 6 days, over 25,000 Jamaican kids have registered on the EduFocal platform. I mean, it's been quite something. And one of the things that we were going to launch this year was EduFocal Live, which is live tutorial sessions with students. So it's basically, the sessions are driven by expert teachers, by senior teachers in schools. We pay those teachers. We had our first session this week. We had 2 sessions on Thursday, yesterday actually. For the first session, we limited it to 50 students. We capped it at 50 students just because we wanted to, learn. But for the second session, we opened it up to everybody on the platform, and we put that out 4 hours prior to the session. And in that time, at the point of launching the session, we had more than 1,300 Jamaican children trying to get access to the session, but we had to cap it. We had to cap it at 300.
But how have you? So you had to cap that one, because I was about to ask, how have you been able to manage this huge surge in demand?
Yeah, so that's been something else, because we have 15 people full time employed to EduFocal. I imagine that at the end of April we'll probably double that number. So there's a lot of work for us to do in that short period of time. So we'll have to train everybody. So all of our new hires, we'll have to train them, because what we want to do for each of the live sessions is to have moderators. So we're still obviously figuring out how many moderators we need for the sessions, because in terms of what we're doing, we want to help as much as possible to facilitate any gaps that are now created as a result of schools being closed. So the typical GSAT, or well, it's now PEP. The typical PEP cohort is about 40,000 kids, 39 to 40,000 kids, and we cover grades 4 to 6. So you're looking at about 112,000 kids thereabout. Now, obviously, not all of them have access to the internet, but let's say even 80% or 70% of them have access to the internet. You're still talking about a lot of kids. And most of them, fun fact is that most of them are accessing it from a mobile phone. So they're accessing our platform from a mobile phone, and they're accessing our live sessions from a mobile phone, specifically an Android mobile phone. So, there are a lot of considerations for us, how well we operate on mobile phones. And we just had to learn a lot in a very short period of time. Fortunately, we've had 8 years of experience, and it wasn't hard for us to scale up to facilitate it. So our server costs, for example, moved from $70 a month to now over $300 a month, right? Or Zoom costs will probably move from right now $50 to probably well over $10,000 over an annual, if you annualize it in terms of the cost. So we've had to do a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah, but you're providing a stellar service to the nation at this point, when a lot of parents are frustrated out their minds, don't know how to homeschool their kids. It's absolutely a necessary service. Do you see this crisis as being something that's going to change the way we educate our kids and change the way we do business for the long haul?
I think we'll revert for a bit, but I think that the conversations will change. I think the conversations will be, hey, this happened, this particular crisis happened, and it worked. Let's start doing it more and see what happens, because we were put here because we had no choice, just because we were put in a position where it's a crisis and kids have to be out of school. But I do think we'll go back to where we were before, but you'll start to see change slowly. And I mean, these are things that I've been advocating for years. So it's good to see that we're finally there, even though it has happened because of a crisis. And that's not to say kids should be out of school or whatever, but just changing the way that we operate, trying something new, because, I always say that the way we do things now, there was a time when we did not do it that way, right? We had to get there, which means that we can continue trying new things, because it's so easy to get comfortable with one way of doing something, not realizing that there are many other ways to do it.
Things have changed indeed, Gordon. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, I've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Time now for your market recap, brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. The Jamaica Stock Exchange continued its decline last week, with the combined index falling 11%. 94 stocks traded across both the main and junior markets of the JSE for the week ending Friday, March 20, 2020. Only 15 advanced, while 71 declined and 8 traded firm. 205 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling nearly $1.9 billion. Wigton Wind Farm again traded the most, taking up nearly 25% of market volume, with people buying and selling 50 million shares in the company. The stock is now approaching its IPO price, opening this week at 54 cents after losing 16 cents. Derrimon traded the second most, taking up 14% of market volume. The stock closed last week at $1.47, down 14%. And Elite Diagnostic also traded heavily, with people buying and selling 15 million shares in the company. Elite lost 27 cents to open Monday at $3.53. Turning to the top advancers now, Blue Power Group saw the biggest gain. Its share price jumped 23% to start this week at $3.70. Margaritaville Turks US dollars gained nearly 21% to open the week at 24 cents US. And Sterling Investments US dollars gained 19%. Sterling starts this week at 3 cents US. On the losing side now, and there were several dramatic declines. 138 Student Living Jamaica took the biggest tumble, falling 38% to open the week at $4.05. Select MD also took a big hit, down nearly 35% to open the week at just 53 cents. And ISP Finance Service fell 29%, down to $14. Market Recap was brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers and Ideal Portfolio Services.
Welcome back to Taking Stock. The Jamaica Stock Exchange has lost an estimated $500 billion in wealth since February. That's $500 billion, about 3.7 billion US, a 25% decline. With economic definitions, this is a stock market crash. We're definitely in bear market territory. So what should we do? I have the analyst with me, Senior Wealth Advisor at Ideal Portfolio Services, Oric Angus, Assistant General Manager of Treasury and Trading at JMB, Greg Lindo, and Senior Business Reporter at the Gleaner newspaper, Stephen Jackson. Stephen didn't want to come on, but that kind of twisted his arm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with you, Stephen, because you've been covering this, like myself, as a reporter. Have you ever seen anything like this before in the markets?
There's always a new normal. So it's, from some perspective, it's uncharted territory, but it seems as if there's always a new low that comes a few days after that. And so, so for the moment, we really don't know where the bottom is, one could argue. But historically, I mean, we've had crashes before, and this is par for the course. What's the
closest thing you would have seen? Like when would have been the closest thing to this that you would have seen in Jamaica?
Right, so I was going to go do some research on that, but then I wanted to hear what the analysts would say.
But you're all fairly young, so.
Right, no, but that's the beauty about data. Data is there for anybody to number crunch,
Yeah. Well, let's ask Oric then. Oric, have you seen anything like this before in your experience?
Yeah, when I entered the market the industry in early 2013, we were in bear territory, so I do have a little experience of these unusual times. In terms of the market being bottomed out, we're still not sure yet. It's just speculation right now. We have to now assess or use China's situation where the COVID is concerned as a benchmark to see what timelines we do have to work with. I think the PM stated that the peak is at least around eight weeks from now, so we'll have to see how things run throughout that course. Then we can get rid of some level of uncertainties in the market right now.
Greg, what are clients saying right now, customers? A lot of people are saying that the crash that we're seeing is because of panic buying. Is that what it is really? People are just afraid and selling off their stocks?
Yeah, I think you mean panic selling.
Panic selling, sorry.
Yeah, there's a wide concern in the retail community of the impact that COVID-19 is going to have on economies and by extension listed companies. So we've had a long run, a good run of a bull market, I would say, but the market has now turned bearish. If you look point to point, we're now in negative territory over a year. So naturally, persons that may have had gains in their portfolio would now be looking to either take gains and then look to see where this thing settles out. Or you have persons that are saying, boy, it's revelation times and I need my money. And naturally, in any market event where you have this kind of risk aversion, and by that I mean persons just saying they don't know, there's uncertainty. The natural thing for investors to do is to go to cash. So persons are just trying to build their liquidity position, ensure that they have liquid cash that they can access, because the truth is we're in very uncertain times.
And they're willing to take losses in order to access that cash. That's what we're seeing.
Yes, I mean, in 2008 we had a crisis. It wasn't quite as impactful, I'd say, on the market as it is now, because the market was not at that time very bullish, but certainly the that's an oxymoron, but certainly persons are now aware that, listen, better I take a 10% loss than a 60% loss. Better I just ride this thing out in cash and just see what the end of the tunnel looks like, because right now most people can't really quantify what that looks like. So, you know, persons will just say, listen, I mean, I may take a hit, but, you know, I'm not gonna lose. You know, if I take a small hit now, it's better to take a small hit and take a large hit down the road.
Yeah, and the reality too is, Oric, that some people actually are losing their jobs. They need money right now. They're cashing out not just because of panic selling or anything else, but because they need cash. They need the liquidity.
Right. So that now comes down to what we analysts always recommend is which is a general portfolio management strategy of separating one's savings from investments by thinking long term. So whenever there are situations like these, you'll always have something to rely on, or your short-term savings to rely on, versus a situation where you would be in a position to wanting to sell in your equities versus not wanting to sell them. So, you know, it's tough times, unusual times, as I mentioned before. So I just suggest that one seek professional advice or guidance.
Yeah. Stephen, you've been covering, like I said, the impact on the market. There have been cancellations, postponements in terms of AGMs and whatnot. The big one is TransJamaican Highway IPO. Everybody's always asking about TransJamaica. So many people have invested in it. What are you picking up that's going to happen now? Because as of today, Friday, when we're recording this, it hasn't listed yet.
Right. So it's going to list early next week. And,
Early next
week. That's confirmed. And you know, I hate to say this, and of course these are my views and not the Gleaner's views or any institution's views, but the highway is going to turn into a skyway. And the truth is that nobody has wings, right? So anything you put
what
on
do you mean by that? The highway is going to turn into a skyway?
Anything you put on this market is going to sink, right? Already the valuation was tenuous. It was coming with if you did PE analysis on it, price to earning multiples, it just didn't, it was already arguably fairly valued at best, right? Of course, when you do other analysis, you can say it came in at a discount. And of course, when you look at what the 9 brokers said about the short-term outlook for it before any corona issue emerged, what they were thinking is that it would have a short-term gap up. It could gap up between 5 to 20%, right, in the short term. That was based on the market that we had pre-March. So now with the market dropping by 30% overall, then one would expect that at best, using those very same analysis, once you rearrange the floor, I mean, it could drop between 10 to 20%.
So, Greg, do you agree with Stephen's analysis there on trans? There's some people who are saying that they should have delayed the listing.
Well, at this point, the IPO has been closed for a few weeks. Refunds would have been processed, so it's only reasonable, I'd say, that they would look to have it listed, as persons need to be able to make a decision whether they want to keep the stock or not. I can't tell you what will happen. I mean, the general market conditions speak for itself. I mean, this week the JSE main index lost about 12%. When you look at that on a relative basis, I mean, US markets are down in the teens. Asia is down a similar amount. Europe probably doing a little bit better than all of those markets, right? But we're in a downtrend. So it wouldn't be unreasonable for persons to want to sell for the same reasons I previously outlined in terms of storing liquidity and all of those factors. But the truth is, if you bought into TransJamaica, it was stressed as a long-term investment. So looking at the long-term time horizon, it should still be relatively attractive. But the problem is that nobody knows the extent of COVID-19 on the wider economy. Not even going to say the market, because the market is influenced by the economy, and certainly the highway usage is going to maybe impacted. So our persons are going to make a lot of anecdotal assessments as to some of the things that could happen to the highway.
Because if people are working from home, a lot of people are working from home, and schools are out, then who's using the highway?
Right. So you're going to have a lot of anecdotal assessments, but I mean, this was not in no shape or form a speculative type of security. So I mean, once it lists, I mean, I don't expect this thing to be rallying 100%, right? That's just realistic. But given the trend that we're seeing, I wouldn't be surprised to see a downturn in the stock price. I mean, that is where it stands right now. I'm not gonna say it's gonna crash 10%, 20%, 30%. I don't know. I mean, I leave that to the market to decide. But the overall sentiment, investor sentiment, is pretty low right now. So I can only assume that will carry forward to any listing that comes on the market at this point.
So, Ulrich, how do people weather this storm? What are you advising clients to do right now?
Well, it's twofold. So for existing clients, they're recommending that they use the opportunity to average down where they see fit, or to expand their portfolios by investing in additional equities at these attractive prices, or lower prices, I should say. For incoming or new investors, it's a good entry point for them as well. So that's what I'm recommending to my clients right now, new and existing. Generally, and then as I said before, right now we have to apply general portfolio management strategies in terms of asset allocation and across different sectors, industries, just to be safe, because it's very sensitive right now.
Are there any specific deals you're eyeing right now?
My deals are aligned with the main market right now. That's where value is. That's where I'm seeing value. The financial and manufacturing companies, they are the ones that, based on historical data, those are the ones that recover faster during times like these. So I'm looking at companies like NCB Financial Group, JMB, Sagicor, Grace Kennedy, which haven't dropped that much, to be honest, separate. So those are the ones I'm looking towards right now.
Anything to avoid, Greg?
The times right now are uncertain. So I mean, I'm not a full bear, but I would be more erring on the side of caution. This global sell-off extends way beyond just stocks. I mean, GOJ bonds are now trading at a discount, right? So while the offers may look attractive, I mean, you can get good yields and good relative prices. Nobody knows the extent of the impact that the virus is going to have on the wider economy. I was reading that the Minister of Finance himself has not been able to, he was asked and he was not able to give an assessment in terms of, all right, well, how much percent of GDP is going to cost us? If you go around now, everything is shut down, right? So with that in mind, is a good deal a good deal? I mean, I can't say that for a fact, but certainly for investors that are already invested, I would say, yeah, averaging down is a good idea. I also share the sentiment that the larger companies, the large cap companies may have the balance sheet to weather this type of market adjustment. So I'd be looking very broad-based. I can't tell you if there's anything specific right now. I would say, yeah, it's standing out to me as a glaring buy. I mean, I'd be more saying, all right, let me look and see how the stimulus that the government has brought in, how that's going to impact the economy and how some of these listed companies are going to manage. Because, you know, being geographically diversified and all of that nice stuff that we like to talk about, this is a global issue. So, I mean, we don't know how it's going to impact everybody as yet. So we just have to kind of keep our eye on what's happening and make, you know, timely small steps into the market, if you so choose.
Stephen, before we go, there's been some talk about AGMs as well, annual general meetings. A lot of them have been cancelled or postponed. Well, I don't think they're cancelled, but at least postponed in this era of social distancing. How does that impact things?
I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and technology, like what we're using, allows AGMs to occur remotely, utilizing technology. And of course, it's up to the companies to also check their articles of incorporation to see how flexible they can be, and to make allowances to either postpone or to reschedule AGMs going forward. But some will use and have used remote technology for the first time, including Scotia. I mean, 130 years is never too late to start. Even I learned something today too, technology-wise. Right. So I mean, I think it's a good thing, and already we've seen at least two or three cancellations of AGMs that I can just think off the top of my head, and there would be more. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the moment. I mean, put it this way. I mean, if you were going to hint a breakthrough product or some new revenue line at the AGM to boost your stock price or something, no, it's not going to happen. So if there's no real benefit, like to the shareholder, like I would imagine to see an AGM right now, really. You know, it's just as, you know, a company putting out 100% growth in profits. It's just not going to do anything on this market, in this market right now. So I think it's a good thing.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for your analysis and your tips.
No problem. You're welcome.
And for those of you watching or listening, you can check the description box on YouTube to find out how to contact our analysts if you have any further questions. I'll be back with more.
Taking Stock, the Analysts was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers and Ideal Portfolio Services.
That's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with a friend. Also, check out my other features, Money Mondays JA and What's in It for Me, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kalila Ray. If you want to connect with the analysts this week, check the description box below for their contact information. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Stay safe.